face tariffs as high as 150%. But Ford will continue to export engines and transmissions to China that are built in the U.S. China's reciprocal tariffs on U.S.-made vehicles is forcing Ford to stop shipments to the country. The automaker said it has halted shipments of F-150s, Mustangs, Broncos, and Lincoln Navigators that are made in the U.S. And in other tariff news, Volkswagen Group CEO Oliver Blume said that the company is currently in talks with the Trump administration and is now considering building Audis in the U.S.
Remember those Made in America stickers everyone was so proud of? Well, they just became the most expensive stickers in history. Ford just completely stopped shipping cars to China after they slapped a 125% tariff on American vehicles. That's not a typo, folks, 125%. Your $40,000 Mustang would now cost over $100,000 in China.
Slashing earnings projections, though she did thank the Trump administration for walking back some of the levies on imported parts and raised hope of further changes to come. This warning from the CEO of the nation's largest automaker, General Motors, about the impact of the tariffs on the car industry. Mary Barrett told shareholders the tariffs on imported cars and auto parts will cost GM between $4 to $5 billion this year alone.
All right, John, well, thank you very much. And General Motors CEO Mary Barra joins us now. So as John just said, Mary, GM cut the forecast for earnings up to 30%. You gave a range, but earlier this week, you'd suspended all future guidance earlier in the week because of the sudden change.
I mean, at that price, it better come with its own chauffeur and a lifetime supply of fortune cookies. Meanwhile, our own genius government thought a 25% tariff was going to make America great again. Instead, we've got Buick in a death spiral because, plot twist, most of their cars aren't even made here anymore. Remember Buick, that brand your grandpa loved that somehow managed to grow 40% this year while nobody was looking? Well, they're about to get absolutely crushed by these new tariffs. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Turns out, Buick was having quite the comeback party in early 2025. Sales rocketed up nearly 40% in the first quarter, and suddenly this forgotten old people car was cool again. The Encore, GX, Invista, and Envision were flying off dealer lots faster than MAGA hats at a Trump rally. Young drivers and families were actually choosing Buick, which is like finding out your weird uncle suddenly became a TikTok influencer. But here's where it gets juicy. This American success story has one tiny problem. These American cars aren't made in America at all. The Envision, made in China. The Encore GX and Invista, assembled in South Korea.
And now we've got this letter you've put out. I know you're going to be talking to investors just moments after you finish talking to us. But when you look at the situation here, the tariff exposure that you put out is $4 to $5 billion. So, Mary, I really appreciate your time. When you did that unprecedented step of suspending the earnings forecast because of Trump's tariff adjustment earlier in the week, you also suspended your stock buyback program to conserve cash.
Well, when we look at the overall $4 to $5 billion impact from tariffs that we shared, that is what we know now based on the clarity that we're given, and we're very appreciative that the president provided that clarity.
That's like claiming your apple pie is homemade when you bought it at Costco and just warmed it up. So when these shiny new tariffs came crashing down, Buick got absolutely body slammed. We're talking nearly 50% in total import fees. That's like buying a car and then immediately setting half your money on fire just for the privilege of driving it. These fees aren't just a little speed bump. They're a brick wall at 90 miles per hour. Dealers who were popping champagne bottles just weeks ago are now drowning their sorrows in cheap beer. Sales teams report showrooms emptier than Trump's promises to release his tax returns. Potential customers who were excited about these affordable SUVs are now facing sticker shock that could give them actual heart problems. Why is Buick getting absolutely demolished while other American brands are just getting bruised? Because Buick kept waving the American flag while shipping all their manufacturing jobs overseas.
We actually delayed this conversation with you and with our investors for a couple days because we knew we had been working with the administration for several months, working with the president and many members of his administration.
They wanted the cheap labor without the made in China stigma. Now they're getting kicked in the tailpipe for it. The beautiful irony here is just chef's kiss perfect. A policy supposedly designed to protect American companies is actually killing one of the oldest American car brands because they're not American enough anymore. It's like banning immigrants while your own grandparents came over on a boat. Customers who were this close to signing papers are now facing price hikes of $7,000 to $10,000 per vehicle. That $32,000 Envision that was flying off lots, it's suddenly $45,000 for the exact same car. That's a college semester, not a price increase. If you thought those Buick price hikes were bad, wait until you hear what Ford just did that has auto executives reaching for the tums. They didn't just cut back or scale down. Ford completely slammed the door shut on all exports to China. Every single Mustang, F-150 Raptor, and SUV that was headed east, canceled. It's like a chef deciding they're just not going to cook anymore. That's how bonkers this move is. For years, Chinese buyers were throwing serious cash at Ford for that sweet American muscle. Nothing said, "I've made it in Beijing," quite like parking a growling Mustang outside your apartment building. Then China decided to play hardball with a 125% tariff on American vehicles. Do the math. A $50,000 Mustang suddenly costs as much as a small apartment. Who's going to pay that? Here's what nobody's talking about. This wasn't just China being petty. It was a 1-2 punch that knocked Ford out cold. First, we slapped our 25% tariff on them. Then they hit back with their 125% monster tariff. That's not international trade. That's financial murder. The real nightmare isn't just about finished cars, though. Your American-made vehicle? It's actually a global citizen with a passport fuller than a college backpacker. The engine might be from Mexico, the electronics from Japan, and those fancy sensors? Straight from China. Each of those parts now gets taxed every time it crosses a border, turning the price tag into a game of hot potato where you're the sucker left holding it. Even Japanese companies building cars right here in America are freaking out. Toyota and Honda, assembly plants in places like Kentucky and Ohio, still need parts from Japan, and those parts just got way more expensive. Japanese officials are already running to Washington trying to fix this mess before it gets worse. Factory workers are seeing the writing on the wall, orders are dropping faster than Trump's approval rating, and jobs are already disappearing. Workers know exactly what it means when shipments slow down. Reduced hours today, pink slips tomorrow. Electric vehicles are taking the hardest hit of all. EVs need specialized batteries and rare earth minerals that mostly come from, surprise, China. Now China's not just taxing us, they're completely restricting exports of the very materials we need for our green revolution. Talk about terrible timing. The EV boom we've been promised might get delayed by years, while Washington pretends this is all going according to plan. So here's the brutal truth. This whole tariff circus isn't about saving America. It's a political stunt that completely ignores how cars are actually made in 2025. These policies are like performing surgery with a chainsaw when the patient needed a Band-Aid. The tariffs are creating this weird economic suicide pact where consumers pay more, workers lose jobs, and even small businesses that rely on affordable transportation get squeezed. The just-in-time supply system that kept prices reasonable? Gone. That EV revolution we were promised? On life support. Who's winning this trade war? Absolutely nobody. Except maybe the politicians who will claim they did something.